Welcome to the Be a Paid Speaker Now podcast. I'm your host and speaking coach, Deborah Deras, known as the top Latina peak performance speaker. This podcast is here to support you with strategies and best practices of paid speakers so you can find out what works and what doesn't, so you can achieve success with ease and grace in your speaking career. Enjoy the show. Are you always on the road speaking and your house is all alone collecting dust? Wouldn't it be nice to make some passive income while you're out speaking on the road? Well, I do. Want to know my secret? Airbnb. I use Airbnb to make some extra cash to reinvest in marketing for my speaking business. It's so simple. You just set up a listing and voila, you come home to money in your bank account on top of what you already made speaking. If you want to know more, go to the Be a Paid Speaker Now podcast.com to get all the information. Welcome back. So excited to have you here. I really appreciate you listening. I just went on iTunes the other day and saw all of your beautiful reviews, and I just want to say thank you. The whole purpose and the whole intention of the podcast is so that you don't have to be paid to speak later than I did. You could get paid to speak more and faster. So I'm so grateful that you're here and that you're tuning in. I also want to invite you. We're now enrolling for the 5th cohort of the Synergy Speaker Mastermind. I'm so excited to have trained over 98 experts to be paid to speak. And I'm not talking little cash. I'm talking mucho dinero, friends. In fact, my nickname is now Debbie Dinero. So I'm super excited that you guys are getting out there. If you want to know more about the program, you could go to my website, deborahderas.com, click coaching, and schedule a 30-minute session with me, and I will be happy to tell you all about it. I'm also excited to announce we have a new webinar. And it was inspired by all of your questions from the podcast. And it's 5 mistakes new speakers make. And guess what? That webinar is free. My mantra is free is for me. So you can register for that webinar by making sure you're on my newsletter list. So when you go to the website, you sign up for the coaching session, make sure you put your name and your email on the newsletter list, and I'll invite you to that free webinar so you too can be paid to speak. So we have an amazing guest today. I'm super honored, excited, and humbled that she's here with me. Not only is she a friend of mine, not only is she a social media marketing client of mine, but guess what? She's a listener of the podcast. And the other day, she called me on the phone and she was like, Deborah, I love the podcast. And I was like, because sometimes I wonder, is anybody listening? Bueller. And when I got her message, I cried. Yeah. I was like so excited. And the fact that she was willing and able in her busy schedule, publishing her book, being a popular hypnotherapist, and all the other things she does to be here today, it's amazing. And you're going to love her. Her name is Jessica I. Morales. She is a transformational speaker, certified hypnotherapist, and founder of BU Bloom. She received an honors diploma, the Clinical Achievement and Directors Award from HMI College of Hypnotherapy. That is the best school. I'm telling you, everybody that's the best hypnotherapist goes to that school. And she works with businesses and individuals on building positive environments and mindsets for upgrading thoughts, habits, and behavior. Please help me welcome Miss Jessica.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So good to be here with you.
I know. It's so good to be here. It's so good to have you.
Thank you.
And just to hear your story, because I think a lot of people are inspired by people like you that have fulfilled their dreams, not just talked about it, but activated. So why don't you tell them how you became a professional speaker?
Yeah. So I actually think that the C was there because of my work as an actor. So it was kind of funny because my manager at the time would say, you know, why do you love so much hosting educational series? Like, I love doing that even more than traditional television and speaking to people through cameras and reaching people, the masses and making them feel like that one touch point. So I think the C was already there. And then when I went to the College of Hypnotherapy, I went through a residency program and we were assigned mentors. And my mentor would say, you know, I know that you're doing, you're speaking and you're doing workshops and you're doing clients, but you just light up every time you're talking to groups of people. It seems like you just light up. Not everyone has that gift, and a lot of people can do one-on-one coaching, but when you're connecting with masses, it's a different talent, Deborah,
Right.
So yeah, so she said, what if you really focused on doing that? And I said, yeah. So that's how it all seeded, just from that interaction and really realizing what fueled my heart space was reaching lots of people.
I love it. Yeah. I mean, one-on-one, you can only impact so many.
Yeah.
So when you really have a mission, as you do, to transform the world, being a speaker allows you to fulfill that.
Yeah.
I truly believe it's a soul's contract. And when you are clear about what your mission in life is, the universe will conspire for your good and get you out in front of people.
Yes.
So let's talk about your personal work with doing the hypnotherapy and the mindset. How did you get into that? That's my favorite subject.
I know. Every time I see you, I feel like we talk about it. So I went on an extraordinary journey with my mom during her end stage of Alzheimer's. And I was told she had a few weeks to live, or maybe a few months at most. And so I dropped everything, went back to New York, and I wasn't going to leave her. And as we went, it ended up being many, many, many months. And they gave me a cot, and I got to live at an end stage facility. And I saw the highest highs and the lowest lows of human emotion.
How long did you live there?
About 8 months. Yeah. And it was extraordinary. I don't think that had happened before. They become like your baby, and you know how us Latinas are with our moms. And so, 1 second you could be hopeful and optimistic, and the next second you were completely devastated. And I became really interested in how people bounce back from setback and how people can thrive again, And then I became interested in positive psychology, the scientific study of what makes people flourish and thrive and build hope and optimism and resilience. And then when my mom passed and I came back to LA, everything was, like you say, everything was pointing in that direction. And I said, I really want to understand the mind and what drives people. And I ended up going to the College of Hypnotherapy. I completely invested that whole year, full-time residency, 100% to be there and committed.
Wow. That takes so much dedication.
Yeah.
And then the hypnotherapy piece, like to go to the HMI and do all of that.
Yeah.
That just was inspired by that.
Yeah, you have to really listen to your heart space. And my heart was pointing me in that direction. And I was confused because I had some judgment on it. I'm not going to lie. I wasn't sure what that was. Like, why am I being pointed towards hypnotherapy, hypnosis, right? And when I went, I realized, oh my gosh, this is completely nothing what I see in the movies. Although I think the movies makes it kind of fun. Somebody told me today, you're dangerous in a fun way. They were just joking with me. But no, it's really about optimizing people's minds and helping them work on their presenting issue, focus 100% on that issue using their best mental assets while you release anxiety and fight and flight and all the stresses that you usually approach your problems with. We remove that. And so you really are actually awakening your alertness even more. It's just the physical body is more relaxed.
Yeah, and for people that know nothing about hypnotherapy, it's not like a hypnotist show where you're quacking they're awake in a meditative state, and you're just working at the subconscious level, which is 95% of our mind. So if people are only operating at their conscious level, there really can be sabotaging and not being able to stop that behavior because the anxiety just takes over.
And I think that's the aha moment in the first session is when you show people that, and you're like, here, it's sort of that iceberg. That bottom piece that you don't see can literally destroy and sink your boat. And that is what is driving the behavior, like you said, over 95% of your experiences day to day. And then you wonder why something hasn't changed. Well, because you need to really speak to the emotional part of your mind where your life script is housed, your associations, how you feel about things. That is what's going to help you achieve the goal or sabotage it.
It's so fascinating. I don't even want to talk about speaking. I just want to talk about emotional association.
Yeah.
That's really key.
Yes.
Because most people think in like traditional therapy, I just need to understand myself and think, what is this issue? And if I talk about my mother, then I'm going to be cured. But it's not. It's the emotions.
Yes, it's the emotions. Exactly. And so oftentimes somebody will come in with a presenting issue, but then when we go inward, something comes up and I go, okay, do you want to explore that a little bit more? And then I didn't even realize that's what it really was. And it was masked under something else. And so we get to the root of the issue, and it's really amazing how they blossom.
Oh, that's why it's Be You Blossom.
That's why it's Be You Bloom.
Be You Bloom.
Yeah.
Be You Bloom.
Yeah.
And, I know a lot of speakers that might be listening. I know because they've written me. face what's called imposter syndrome, where they feel like, am I good enough to take this mic? Even though they're doctors or they have years of experience and expertise, how would you coach them or help them through that imposter syndrome?
So because of the confidence level, feeling like they're not confident enough to get in front of a
feeling
audience?
Like, who are they to be doing it?
The credibility factor.
Yes.
Who are they to be speaking? Well, I would address more of what's going on personally, because it's the personal life script. What is the life script? What is that informing you of? That's creating that belief system. So, talking to them about that first and kind of getting the history of what that means. And a lot of times when we do inner child work, we end up resolving it at the inner child level. So
you do inner child work.
Oh, I love it. I love it. But I also have transferred inner child work into, like in my journal, for example, using the inner child, unleash your inner child and let that inner child be creative and bold. As we get older, we lose our creativity. But if we go back to that, and children operate in theta state most of the time, which is a hypnotic state. So they just step into what they believe is true. So if you would just step into it and really believe it, it would happen for you, just like children do all day long. They wear like a Superman cape and they believe they're Superman. Right. That's why they make the best actors, too.
That's why
the ego doesn't come in.
That's why ego's not your amigo, friend.
Ego's not your amigo. So that happens with speakers, too. With it's my ego. I'm trying to prove something instead of I'm so excited to give you something.
So when they're feeling that imposter syndrome, they could literally visualize it and say, what would it be like if the audience was mesmerized? What would it be like to see the smiles on their face or the aha moment?
So now that depends. So this is the interesting thing, and this is why I love so much the specific modality that I studied in. Depends, because sometimes with athletes, for example, right? If the personality of that person is not fueled by the raw of the audience, we wouldn't bring that in, right? Some people, it's because it's more of a intimate achievement. And so we work on that in that arena. So it depends on what drives you. That's the tool that we're going to use.
Drivers.
Truly custom. Yeah, truly custom to that person, how they take information, their suggestibility. I mean, there's so many different things.
So it's not the same for everyone.
It's not the same.
I know I'm like a very auditory processor.
Yes.
And when I would practice my speeches, when I would write out my speeches and I would rewrite them, it would never help me. Yeah. But when I would say them out loud, and I literally, believe it or not, would, when I was at the airport going to my speech, say the entire speech. And I would think nobody was listening to me. And then I'd see somebody in the corner. Good job, Red. One time I did it in the pool. Yeah. I'm always at a resort when I'm speaking with a drink.
I bump into you in places like that.
With a drink. Yeah. And this guy's like in the pool. He was speaking at a different conference. He's like, oh, I really, you think nobody's listening. Yeah. But like, because that's my processing. Oh.
Yeah. And it also desensitizes you in a way to the fear of it. And so with actors, when I teach at the Screen Actors Guild Conservatory, I teach on the performance mindset too. And I say, when you're in your car or when you're in front of people, even in the waiting room, in the casting director's office, in front of the other actors, make bold choices right in front of them. Get out of that headspace. Right. Because when you're in your head, like Tony Robbins says, you're dead. And bring it into the physical body. Anytime you can bring it into the physical.
When you're in your head, you're dead.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Oh. When you're in your head, you're dead. And as a performer, you can imagine. So even crying looks terrible when it's fake. It's up here, it's like you're kind of pushing the emotion. So we need to bring emotion, again, speaking to the emotional mind. The subconscious is actually showing up in the physical body. How to bring that into the physical body and train the nervous system.
Ooh, and that's great for speakers because as a speaker, instead of talking from your mouth, you like act out the story with your body. Yes. So if you were feeling contracted or if you're feeling elated, you could literally physically and emotionally in an organic way.
Absolutely. And go as big as you can because the brain likes exaggerations. It learns best when you exaggerate. Do it in your home space. If you and I would do it in the street probably.
Right. We would.
We would, but do it in your home space. You know what I mean? I had one client where we actually imagined and visualized a superhero cape on her, and she performed with it. That was like her superpower. And I said, what if you went to a store and just got one 99-cent store and learn your lines that way and feel what it is to be so bold and confident? Right. And she did, and for her that seems to work. Ooh. Everyone's so different.
That's so interesting. Yeah. So I see that you have a new book over here. Yes. Can you tell us what inspired it and how it helps people?
Yeah, so this is a journal. It's called a Journal for Mind Optimization, Mind Mastery for Joyful Living. So in the work that I do, whether it's working with businesses, organizations, or private clients, it's really about mastering their mind for joy. I find that people are not experiencing as much joy on a day-to-day basis. And why do I want that for you? Because we want to increase your positive psychological capital. So it's based on the 4 traits that studies show build your psychological capital: hope, efficacy, resilience, and optimism. And it spells out HERO, the acronym. So I call it the
Say it again slowly.
Yes.
I know, my fellow New Yorker.
And I'm Puerto Rican, New York. Yes, we have such an energy about us naturally. It's hope, efficacy, resilience, and optimism.
Got it.
And studies show, because not everybody gets born. Like sometimes when we speak, people will say, were you like that? You must have been born that way. Where I grew up was kind of tough, you know, so I had to really build my brain. I call it build a brain, like a Build-A-Bear.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in the projects in New York City, downtown, and I wouldn't change it. I loved growing up there, but there's a lot of grit growing up there, and you grow up really, really fast, you know? And so I wanted to develop that psychological profile for myself. So when I came back from the journey with my mom, I started building my brain to think on the upside. And when you do that, creativity, inspiration, motivation, aha moments, all those amazing things to drive your career as a speaker or whatever it is that you're doing become much more possible. So the journal is designed with 66 mind tips. It actually takes 66 days on average to create a habit. We can talk about the myth of the 21.
I thought it was 33.
Well, my book is divided in 33 and 33 so that the person decides after 33 mind tips that they practice daily, they can go ahead and continue with 33 more.
So it is 33.
So the first 33 could work for you. Yeah, anywhere from, studies show, anywhere from 18 days to 254 days.
So why do people think it's 21?
So they think it's 21 because back in the 60s, there was research done, and it was based on, basically they were looking on if you lose a limb, how long does it take you to adapt to life without your arm, for example? And it would take an average of about 2 months. So they were looking at adaptability back to life. They weren't looking at habits, and it sort of stuck. It's stuck because it's just easier to remember 21 days. But then what they did, there's a study that they did, I think it was back in 2009 or somewhere around there. And what they found is to create a new habit actually ranges. And it depends how hard the habit is and your willpower. Okay. And so 18 to 254 days, but 66 was the average. So that's why I do 66 mind tips.
Oh, that's so awesome.
And it incorporates imagery and visualization. So after you practice the mind tip, like I'm like, let's take an easy one. I say, Deborah, find the upside in every single downside today. Exaggerate it. Find the upside in every single downside today. Somebody may.
Can I tell you?
Yes.
So we had a podcast guest cancel, and guess what? I get to go home early.
Yeah. So you say, so the upside is
no traffic.
I get to go home early, no traffic. Yes, right. And if you put a physical movement to it, you're actually bringing it to the physical body. Yes. I have my actors shimmy after auditions, even if it went negative, to think positive, right? And so if you practice this enough times, now your mind just becomes automatically to think in that kind of way. And then I bring in child's play. So after you imagine and visualize the new habits you want to place into to hardwire into your mind, use imagery visualization, and then child's play. Open up your eyes and then just draw whatever
Child's play is
that's a section
drawing.
It's drawing, sketching, doodling, because the language of the subconscious mind is pictures, images, and metaphors.
Right.
So whatever shows up from your inner dialogue.
Wait, you guys write that down. Pictures, images, and metaphor. PIM.
Yes. PIM. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Those are really great.
I'm an acronym queen.
I love acronyms. And it's amazing. I've done this with people in the workplace, and they've been able to resolve workplace peer-to-peer issues from using this.
And the PIM is such a powerful teaching method because many speakers listening to this podcast, they feel stuck about what they're an expert in. They're multi-talented like you can be an actress, model, dancer, whatever. But you could also be a talented hypnotherapist, author, speaker, right? But they don't know where to choose their expertise. So they're saying, oh, I'm leadership. Oh, I'm team building. I'm motivational. I'm everything. And then they become nothing. Because as you know, I always say, clarity is cash. If you don't, the riches are in the niches.
It's so true.
Right? But so then they get blocked and they're trying to think it. I'm like, you can't think it. Has to come in an image, metaphor.
And by being
picture.
Or a picture. And it's so much fun. So you can use whatever. You don't have to, it's built, even if you skip a day. Let's say you go, it's been 33 days. I skipped a day. The studies show even if you skip a day, it still works.
I want to buy the book right now.
Yeah, so where do I get it? It's on Amazon. You just type in Journal for Mind Optimization and get it. But I'll send you the link too. But But yeah, so I'm
We'll
really
have the
excited.
link in the comments of the podcast.
Yeah, so it's hypnotherapeutic tools, holistic tools. You're going to be trying some new things that really stretch you. On Sunday, I'm going to Corona State Prison. I'm doing another thing there, and I'm teaching the girls, the women that have been in prison, how to use their time to build a new mind.
I think that's the coolest.
Yeah.
Can you talk a tiny bit about that program
Yeah.
that you're involved with the
So
women in
cool.
prison?
Thank you for your support, by the way. Outside of this, you've been amazing.
Sure.
Yeah, so I literally went there because my heart felt like it pointed me to somebody there, and I saw her on a documentary, and I listened to it, and I met with her, and I said, I don't know what we're going to do together, what's going to unfold, but I listen, and I'm here. Let's just
You
be
saw
open.
a documentary about a woman that was in prison.
Yes. Yeah, she's there for life. And so I was drawn to write to her. And so I did, and I've been visiting with her.
That's so beautiful.
Oh, thank you so much. And it's been very rewarding to me as well. And her story is pretty extraordinary. And so she was the reason why I started going to speak to the YMO group. And these women are working on life skills. And then from there, I did a workshop on use your time to build a new mind. And they were just like, I didn't know I could do that. I didn't know I can build my brain. I didn't know
so freaking
that when
awesome.
I leave, I could do that. I said, you better create that brain now so that when you go out, you're going to succeed.
Look at Nelson Mandela.
Yes.
Come on.
Lower that recidivism rate. You know what I mean? But we need to break the old story and create a new
Somebody
one.
give her a grant for this.
Aw.
if you're listening and you have a foundation and you want to donate money, this is a great cause. She doesn't want to just do hypnotherapy just to help people that want to get great acting gigs. She wants to help people that want to turn their life around, women in prison, to be able to have a new way of looking at things. And I've spoken in prison, white collar criminals. They love my social media talk.
Absolutely.
They're like, we love your enthusiasm about it. I'm like, you don't.
Yes.
And it's just like so wonderful. So I encourage you to reach out to her and support this program. If you could do full-time nothing but working with women in prison, would you do that with your speaking?
I would. If you can change mindsets in a very toxic, difficult environment, you can do it anywhere. So, and it's crazy because, like I said, just be present, and then let the niche come to you. You'd be surprised what comes to you.
The niche does. That is so
right.
But did you hear what she said? And this is where my adrenaline addicts, I attract a lot of adrenaline addicts because I'm a recovering one, is they are not sitting still long enough to download. Remember what she said? Download PIM, pictures, images, and metaphors. And then you journal it, or I color it with a crayon to activate that part of my brain and also to get to that childlike imaginational place. I'm like, could I do this? Draw a little picture of Debbie on a stage.
And try the non-dominant hand too. Did you do that?
I'm so bad at that. It's so unreadable.
No, you'll be surprised.
Okay. But I just challenge you, and we could do this in this podcast. Wouldn't it be amazing if we could have this movement, this vision that she has downloaded come to life because you've got a foundation, you've got support, and you want to donate to have this? I think we can do it.
I
challenge you.
Yes.
Do it. Contact her, and then you say, God, Deborah, from your podcast, we could use our mindset right now.
Yeah. You put a seed and it'll sprout.
We put a seed, and somebody out of the blue said that they really wanted to fund it from the Bill Gates Foundation. Bill, are you listening?
Bill.
Bill Clinton, we don't care. Anybody.
And you'd be surprised. I work a lot in the medical arena too. And it was one of the doctors who said, Jessica, you're like a mind coach for the doctors, for our practice, and for our people, our staff. And so that's what I've been working on, because, when you're working with the prison system, you have to figure out how to make your earnings as well.
Right.
And but I absolutely have such a passion for taking care of people who take care of people. So I realized that is what it is.
Yeah.
And I realized then, I went back to that mentor session way back about, wow, you want to take care of people who reach the masses. I need to make sure you're good. And then you'll make sure everybody else is great.
Exactly. So I know we have to wrap up the podcast, but I know a lot of you out there have been wanting to write a book, and some of you think you need a book to become a speaker, which is not true. It's helpful to have a book because it's good to have back of the room sales, gives you expertise, but people get stuck on writing their book. I know I'm on my 3rd chapter. What advice do you have people like me and those listening that want to finish their book? How do you get it done?
Yeah, I remember sitting at a coffee shop, and I literally said, okay, Jessica, you need to put together a flawless execution plan. And that's actually flawless execution plan. It's based on the military.
Excuse me, Beyonce.
I know. It's based on a military model of no room for failure. Like, we cannot lose one man. So you cannot lose any of that.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, we use it in the business world as well.
Really?
And I use it for coaching as well. Cool. So it's totally scalable. It could be like, because you want to finish a book, Or it could be, maybe you want to manage your health better, or you want to earn $50,000 more next year, whatever it is. So it's scalable for businesses. They use it in Japan, I think, a lot in their companies as well. And so I needed to do that for myself. And it's basically, okay, what is my goal? Is it achievable and measurable? And then I looked at, okay, so what are some of the threats, right? Just like in the military, what are some of the threats to my goal? Well, lack of time. I may get booked on something that pulls me away. I may be too tight, whatever it is, you just like list them. And I love when you write, if you write, free write, and just keep going, you get deeper into the subconscious self-sabotaging tendencies, even more so. And then you come up with contingency plans. Okay, you come up with your plan first, like what resources do I have? Okay, well, you know what? I know that on Sundays from 10 to 12, I've got 2 hours, but 2 hours across 52 weeks is a hell of a lot of hours to start writing this book, right? And then if that doesn't happen, what's my contingency? You always need the contingency because we make up excuses.
Right.
Or something else comes up. If that doesn't happen, then I'm going to make sure I reap that day back with a Wednesday. Then Wednesday from 3 to 5, I can put it then. And then who's going to do what by when? Well, maybe I can get a writing buddy, people that I know that can help inspire me. Maybe when I want my energy to be lifted, I can, write with other people at a cafe. So literally I do that with the client. Ask them what's going on in your life. We're going to make literally a flawless execution plan. And then let's see what works, what doesn't work, and we can adjust. Yes,
FEP,
FEP,
flawless execution plan.
But here's the thing I want to say about writing. So this is in my book too. It's people wait for the mood to create the move. The move to create the mood, right? They want to be motivated, and they're like, I just want to be motivated. And when I'm motivated, I'll actually write. Well, do the move, and it'll create the mood of motivation.
Yeah, it's like you never feel like exercising, but once you get there, you're like,
you'll
thank
start
God.
doing it. So sit down, just start, even if it's gibberish.
The move,
your inner child,
the move
creates the mood. Exactly. So we have to always change that mindset, Or like when you're feeling negative, people want to call more people and stay on the negative, and it's like, no, switch that by creating like a positive movement in your body, and so you'll elevate a lot of that positive emotion, and you'll feel great.
I love it.
Yes.
And you'll feel accomplished.
Yeah.
So how can people stay in touch with you?
So my website is BU Bloom, BEYOU Bloom. And all my social media handles are BU Bloom. I also have BU Bloom TV on YouTube.
Very good.
And on Facebook. So when you buy the book, I have some really wonderful surprises that the journalers get, and a private Facebook community that they get invited to. So they get a lot of extras when they get the journal.
Oh, fantastic. I can't wait to get it. Can I get it today?
Yes, you
If
can.
I order it?
You could.
It'll...
Well, do you have Prime?
Yes, of course.
Well, then.
Who doesn't have Prime?
Yeah.
This should be, and the podcast is sponsored by Amazon Prime. No,
it will be one day. Deborah.
It will be. Let's claim it.
To sprout
I see it. I see an
right.
image of Amazon. When I got my contract speaking with Verizon, I said, I see Verizon on my horizon. I see Verizon on my horizon.
I love it.
It does work.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your
you so
time,
much.
your energy.
Thank you.
I bless your book.
Thank
I bless
you.
your project and getting all the funding so that you
Thank you
can
for that.
empower women to be in aligned no matter where they are. The only prison that we have is our own limiting beliefs.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
And we could be out of jail and in jail if we're blocked with them.
And their mind is free. Nobody can put that in behind bars ever.
Ooh.
Yes.
And the same is true for you. So I invite you to not just listen and be a spectator or a voyeur of the podcast, but really take action. There were so many amazing tips. And speaking of Facebook groups, one of the things that I'm starting to do with the podcast is transcribe it. So when you join the Be a Paid Speaker Now podcast group, you too join the group. I'm going to be putting some of the transcriptions. I'll be putting the videos, and you're going to get bonus tips from the speakers. Awesome. Okay, well, thank you for tuning in. And I want you to remember, you are a messenger for a very important message. Ciao. Thank you for tuning into the Be a Paid Speaker Now podcast. If you want to be a paid speaker right now, you can download the 5 steps to get started as a paid speaker right on my website. Just go to deborahderas.com/speak now. And remember, with the power of synergy, anything is possible.